Lucky Boys Podcast.
Pre-pandemic, the revenue was already down for yellow cab drivers.
Absolutely.
It seems like you're on the brink of extinction.
Yeah, I mean, for us, we've been fighting for this for 4 years. Well, I've been fighting for it with them for 4 years. And the biggest thing that I saw when I got into this industry was that I saw how much it affected the owner drivers. So a medallion is basically a permit to allow you to pick up street hails in New York City, all the boroughs, and also at the airports. But what I started seeing is the decrease in fares and revenue, and people had these huge loans because these immigrant drivers were basically like encouraged and coerced into buying the medallion. That these were like lease drivers that were renting from garages, and these brokers would tell them, "Hey, look, we could get you a loan for 800, 900,000, you know, and then we know a bank, and they'll reap benefits, get fees for it." And they ended up getting into this, and before Uber and the tax,
Lyft, yeah.
and for hire vehicles started coming in, they were able to make the payments, you know.
Right. I remember, I mean, that was a topic of conversation back in the day where people were looking into investing into medallions, not only just immigrants, but regular folks, so that they could lease out the vehicles and just have the right, because they felt that the New York City yellow cab industry was basically recession proof. And it's something that would have, I mean, it's just been a staple of New York City. And when you had industry disruptors come in and just kind of change the whole face of the game, it's, you know, we have this stuff going on now.
Yeah.
And I think you mentioned with the loans, and the average loan, I believe that I read it was like $450,000.
$450,000, yeah.
And at one point, I just remember I have a circle of friends that several years ago, and they were talking about chipping in or investing in a medallion. And I remember when they looked into it, and we were having that conversation. It was about $1 million. 1.3 million.
Yeah.
And that was in 2013. It was valued at 1.3 million.
I believe it was 2013.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it was 1.3 at the max. But they were, so the problem with that is that the city.
And what is it worth now?
Right now, you could buy it $70,000.
$70,000.
$70,000 cash.
Wow.
And people are willing to sell it at 70,000 right now?
Yeah, I mean, there's
Wow.
people asking, people buying, but no one's even buying at this
They're
point.
not even buying it at 70.
Right now, because they're not sure. And for what we've been trying to fight for was that, and trying to shine a light on, was that the city was selling these medallions, inflating the prices purposely, and the city banked $850 million off of these sales.
So you're saying that the city was preying off of the immigrants or these investors,
Right.
inflating the price.
Exactly.
And then now that it's dropped.
Right. Well, it dropped. It was by design, because they ended up not only inflating the prices, but they went to undercut the drivers, allowing all these for hire vehicles, because those same government officials that were working for the governor and even for the city went on to work for Uber and Lyft.
No.
Wow.
Yeah. So it's a huge story that New York Times investigation came out, and it actually won a Pulitzer Prize, highlighting for the fact that these, New York City really, it's really fraud of what they did, because they were selling these medallions, advertising them to predominantly, to anyone, advertising, say, is a worry-free retirement. And during that time, you could make, I've had friends and colleagues telling me they could make 700 like on a weekend, like on a Friday night.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I remember when I used to go into cab drivers, and they were telling me they make good money on the weekends.
Yeah. It was great, because they were able to, if they work hard enough, you got to put in those hours. That's what it is.
So, I mean, it sounds like a big scam. When you're seeing like predatory lending that was happening, right?
Right.
And then all these loans that were like up to what, $500,000. I'm not sure about the interest rate.
No, exactly. And some of them were even getting into, because these are mostly predominantly like north of 90% were immigrants, right? And they were getting industry brokers coming in telling these lease drivers, hey, look, if you have some down payment, like they're talking about the life savings of 100,000, they're like, hey, there's this opportunity, there's this golden opportunity for you to get you to the middle class, And so the biggest problem with that was that they ended up just, predatory lending was huge. And some of them were getting into interest only loans where they were never paying off the principal as well too.
Oh.
And
so their minimum payment only checked the interest, and nothing was coming off the principal.
Exactly. And so and some other people were getting, some other immigrants were getting these high interest rates. So they were paying high interest and barely taking off any other principal.
So, and essentially they'll be in debt forever.
These are the same, I guess like these banks were the same ones that were outlawed in lending for the housing crisis. Because of the housing,
what happened in 2007,
2008, right? So during the housing crisis, they were outlawed because of what they were doing with just giving out loans or whatever, and people were, basically defaulting.
So they found a different industry to kind of
and they were welcome.
Yeah,
you're talking about welcome with open arms and a red carpet to come in here and lend for the medallion.
So there was no regulation that came in. Like New York City is high. I mean, from what I hear, New York City taxi business is very highly regulated. Versus when Uber and Lyft came in, the ride sharing companies, they were kind of free for all at that time, right? When they came in.
So we are highly regulated, but during these transactions, right? They were allowing all these loans to go through and turning a blind eye because the city was making so much money off of it.
Oh, yeah, that's...
And so, but these guys now, and again, same officials went off to work for Uber and Lyft, allow all these cars with unending supply of venture capitalists, and so for us, we're fighting, we're screaming at the city and be like, hey, look, we can't survive. There's no way we could. These guys are 65, 70.
Right.
I have so we do this Zoom call every Friday since the pandemic was happening, and it's in the beginning it was really just to help these owners and drivers just to sign up for unemployment because basically we weren't making any revenue on the streets, and so they. We wanted to make sure we get everybody, and they were joining these Zoom calls, and now it's becoming an every Friday thing, and it becomes like a therapy for all of us because we're talking about our stories, and then we're helping out how we're dealing with these banks and what these banks are doing, and we really became such a family. We have this 80-year-old person who takes care of his sick wife come in every Friday, joining us for 3 hours. Sometimes even like 4 hours, and we're like exhausted.
Is there any debt forgiveness?
See, and that's what we're fighting for, and that's what. So our campaign that we're going through right now is asking for the city to act as a backstop, to guarantee on a loan that bring all the loan principal down to $125,000, 4% interest rate, and it'll be a monthly of $757, and that's livable.
That is.
We think that's livable, even right now. But who knows with the pandemic and everything. But the city has been basically just either ignoring us. They haven't even felt like they say they were going to do something, but we're just tired of the excuses.
All right, now when we talk about the city, specifically who?
Well, the mayor. The mayor has the authority to do stuff like this.